Hey guys, it's Ash, and this is going to be a quick guide on one of the most important cards in the game, the Fireball. There are certain cards in this game that I consider to be of the utmost importance and can provide you with incredible value when used properly. The Fireball is a card that costs 4 Elixir, but properly using it will grant you a greater value than 4 Elixir. And this is how you win battles, by effectively using less Elixir to counter cards or combos of cards that cost greater Elixir. A simple example is using your Fireball on 4 Barbarians. Since the Barbarians cost 5 Elixir, using your Fireball on them is a winning move because you spent 4 Elixir, meaning you'll have 1 more Elixir than your opponent. And making these proper plays will allow you to build up more and more Elixir, which you can then use to create powerful combos that your opponent will be unable to react to because of his lack of Elixir compared to your buildup of Elixir. Also, the Fireball is a very important card to have in your deck because otherwise you will struggle against players who use multiple buildings in their deck. So if your deck does not have the Fireball, Lightning, Rocket, Poison, or the Loon Freeze combo, then you will find yourself struggling against players who use multiple buildings in their deck. This is one of the biggest reasons why I see a lot of people struggling. Instead of using the Fireball, they go with the Arrows card. While the Arrows are a very good card, they will not help against building spammers. So if you don't have one of the aforementioned cards in your deck, then you may want to go with the Fireball instead of the Arrows, or maybe even have both in your deck. Now, this video is not about how to use the Fireball to simply win 1 Elixir by dropping it on a pack of Barbarians. No, this is a video on how you can maximize the Fireball to make even greater profit, and also understand when to use and how to use it properly. For example, the decks most people hate playing against are decks that incorporate multiple huts or buildings and defenses together, often known as hut spamming or defense spamming. Well guys, in this video I'm going to show you guys that these types of decks are not a problem if you use the Fireball properly. First, I'm going to quickly show you guys all the one-on-one scenarios for the Fireball that will grant you a profit, and then we'll get into more advanced ways of utilizing the Fireball properly. Fireball on Barbarians will get you 1 Elixir profit. Fireballing onto a minion horde will also get you 1 Elixir in value. Fireball on a wizard 1 level lower than your Fireball is a 1 Elixir profit. Fireball on the 3 Musketeers 1 level lower than your Fireball is a 5 Elixir profit move. So yeah guys, these are the easiest one-on-one scenarios to obtain value with the Fireball. So if you're Fireballing any other card one-on-one, then you're not fully taking advantage of the Fireball. The secret of the Fireball is to obtain even greater value. For example, if your opponent sends in Barbarians, then chances are very high that he will also support those Barbarians with something like a ranged attacker. So what you should do is not Fireball onto Barbarians when your opponent has Barbarians coming towards you. What you should do is wait, be patient until that last second after your opponent's Barbarians have made it halfway to your side of the map. Chances are very high that your opponent will send in something behind the Barbarians. So if they send in something like a wizard behind the Barbarians, and if you were patient, then you can now Fireball onto both the Barbarians and wizard at the same time and obtain an incredible value. Now, what about Fireballing something like the Witch and the Arena Tower at the same time? In my opinion, this is not a good value move because although you are weakening both the Witch and the Arena Tower at the same time, the Witch is still alive and she can still spawn skeletons, which means that your opponent can now safely support her with melee troops in front of her. It's just much better to save your Fireball because your opponent will support the Witch anyways, so it's much better to Fireball the Witch and her skeletons and whatever troops your opponent sends in front of her all at the same time. This is a much more rewarding move than to Fireball onto the Witch and the Arena Tower at the same time. Now, let's get into more advanced uses of the Fireball, which is to use it on multiple troops or buildings. Remember guys, the Fireball does area damage to everything within its 2.5 tile radius. One very important tip I want to give you guys is that you have to aim for the shadow of the troops when using the Fireball for accurate drops. So now let's talk about whether it's a good value move to Fireball onto a building and Arena Tower at the same time. This is one of the many big reasons why people struggle against players who use multiple buildings. I'm going to tell you guys right now that it's a bad idea to Fireball in the following manners. Fireball onto a Goblin Hut and Arena Tower is a bad move because the Fireball will only do about 45% damage onto the Goblin Hut. The Goblin Hut costs 5 Elixir, so 45% damage is only about 2 Elixir, while you wasted 4 Elixir. Fireball onto a Barbarian Hut and Arena Tower is a bad move because the Fireball will do only about 30% damage onto the Barbarian Hut. The Barbarian Hut costs 7 Elixir, so 30% is only about 2 Elixir, while you wasted 4 Elixir. These are main reasons why players struggle against Hut spammers, is because they're throwing away more Elixir than the value they're getting in return. So instead, a rewarding move is to be patient and Fireball onto both the Barbarian Hut and Goblin Hut and or Arena Tower at the same time. This is a rewarding move because, for example, a level 6 Fireball does 520 area damage, while a level 6 Barbarian Hut and Goblin Hut together cost 12 Elixir and together are 2880 HP. So 520 damage onto both the Goblin Hut and Barbarian Hut is a total of 1040 damage. 1040 out of 2880 is about 36%, and 36% of 12 Elixir is equal to 4.3 Elixir. So what this means is that you spent a 4 Elixir card onto both the Goblin Hut and Barbarian Hut to deal a damage value of 4.3 Elixir. So you gained a profit of 0.3 Elixir and 208 damage onto the Arena Tower. This is how you beat Hut spammers, by making rewarding moves. Now, what about Fireball onto a mortar? Well, the mistake I see a lot of people make is that they Fireball onto a mortar thinking that by weakening the mortar, they're lessening its impact. But this is a bad move. The mortar is a 4 Elixir card, while your Fireball is also 4 Elixir. But Fireball onto a mortar will only do about 45% damage to it, which is only about 2 Elixir in value. So you're actually throwing away 2 Elixir when you throw your Fireball onto a mortar. So instead, what you should do is force your opponent into defending the mortar and then place your Fireball onto both the mortar and whatever else your opponent plays to defend the mortar. For example, if they place the Barbarians to protect the mortar, then Fireballing onto both the mortar and the Barbarians at the same time is a very rewarding move. Also, most of the times, if you weaken the mortar, it's just better to let it deal some damage onto your Arena Tower instead, and save your precious 4 Elixir to make a stronger combo push. Another mistake I see people making is dropping their Fireball onto the Elixir Collector one-on-one. If you're doing that, then you're actually just giving your opponent the win. The Fireball costs 4 Elixir, while the Elixir Collector costs 5 Elixir, while the Fireball only does 40% damage onto the Elixir Collector, which is a value of only 2 Elixir. So you basically wasted 2 Elixir by dropping your Fireball onto the Elixir Collector. Now, some people might argue that you stop the Elixir Collector from generating more Elixir, so you'll be able to stop their late game rush. But logically speaking, you did the opposite. You just allowed them to form a bigger Elixir lead from you. After the Fireball onto the Elixir Collector, it can still generate 3 Elixir. So by putting yourself behind an Elixir, you're allowing your opponent to form stronger combos to quickly devour you. So yeah guys, when using the Fireball, always look for key opportunities to maximize your value. Instead of just throwing your Fireball onto just one building, which is a bad move, look for opportunities where you can Fireball 2 buildings, or the building and another troop at the same time, or multiple troops at the same time, such as Fireball on the Elixir Collector and Archers at the same time, or Fireball on the Infernal Tower and Musketeer at the same time, Fireball onto the Barbarians and Minion Horde and Spear Goblins all at once, and you've pretty much just won the game if you play the rest of your cards right. So I hope you guys found this guide to be very informative, and hope it helped as well. Be sure to give the video a thumbs up and also subscribe for more great daily Clash Royale content. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys again soon. Later.